we're going to wait about another minute or so, and then I'll get our Noontime Basketball with the Bulldogs started. It's sponsored by our good friends at Mako Medical. A huge shout out from me personally to their CEO and owner, Chad Price. This week, he and I've had an opportunity to connect, and I'll tell you what, when you're in charge of a large company like that, to know that the person that is the number one person will text you back at 10 o'clock at night and answer questions and try to help people. This really says a lot about Mako Medical and what they're doing to try to help us with all this. Well, we're going to get this underway. This is, once again, greetings to everybody. I think you know me by now. I'm Janet Cohn. I'm your athletic director, proud Bulldog, wearing the blue, and excited to host you for a little inside, behind the scene look at not only college basketball, but today a little bit about NBA basketball. So we got some special guests here today. So Donna, first of all, we know we have Coach Mike Morrell and David Jandrew. I know you're back there. So before we introduce Coach Brown, let's talk a little bit, because Coach Morrell is right now doing probably a pregame speech. We got a game at 2 o'clock. Big win last night over Charleston Southern, a dominating home win. David, I know you were our announcer there right at the scores table. You want to say a few things about what you saw about the game last night?
It was an impressive performance. We jumped on them in the first minute of the game and were able to keep a 20-point margin for most of the game. It ended up even a little bit more than that, which I know Coach Morrell would have been happy about the offense. I bet he's particularly thrilled with the defense that was played. And for those of you watching today, keep an eye on Doc Battle, who is guarding Charleston Southern's best player, Fleming, 24. He's their best player. So keep an eye on Doc today. His defensive job was great yesterday, and I know everybody was thrilled to see that white 20 uniform out there today. They might be wearing blue, but number 20 was back on the floor, Devon Baker. So everybody was really thrilled to see him get back in action yesterday.
Yeah. And David, how many times did you get to announce there's another 3? Or you do, do your voice, man. Do that.
I can't, I got to save it. I'm getting workers' comp from having to say that too many times the other day. I was going to get the trainer to come throw me some hauls, but I'm hoping I can do it another 13 times today.
There you go. Well, obviously we're going to hear from Coach Morrell here in a few minutes, and our Coach Honey Brown is down in Charleston, South Carolina with our team. As many of you know, we're on a slight pause, making sure that we were concerned about the health and safety of our team, and so we're excited that they were. When they got back on the court on Wednesday, I could hear them screaming and yelling in the hallways, and just so glad. And we were just talking a few minutes ago before we came on the air with Johnny about our student athletes and coaches they always love the game, but particularly this year, more so than ever, how appreciative they are that they're healthy and they can play and their opponent's healthy. So we'll hear a little bit from Coach Brown here in a few minutes. And I am particularly thrilled to have our special guest, Johnny Davis. And you're going to really get an inside perspective on not only learning more and getting to know Johnny better, but he's going to share with us some of his experiences as a college player, an NBA player, NBA coach, and presently he is serving as the chair of the National Basketball Retired Players Association. So we're going to really talk about a lot of things. And for those of you that don't know, Johnny's a member of our UNC Asheville Foundation Board, and also a member of a special group of student athletes, coaches, and staff members, our Bulldog Anti-Racism Council, our BART group. So Johnny, thanks for being here. And Donna, I think that for those of you who are watching, since our coaches are so busy today, they pre-recorded a few things that they want to share with you. So Donna, you're going to go with Coach Morrell first. So let's listen to what Coach Morrell wanted to say to our Bulldog friends.
Hey, Bulldog fans, Coach Morrell here. Sorry I can't be with you today with Coach Davis. Really looking forward to going back and watching and hearing what he has to say. I know his experiences are awesome. Just getting to know him a little bit since being here in Asheville. But getting ready for Charleston Southern right now and looking forward to a really exciting week here with Bulldog basketball. So hope all is well and look forward to seeing everybody soon in person, hopefully. I mean, 6 in a row on the road is a lot, but, I think if you just focus on, 6 in a row on the road, then that's kind of the wrong way to look at it. For us, it's just we get an opportunity to play. We get an opportunity to compete. Obviously, we love being here in Kimmel Arena and playing, whether there's fans or not. It's nice to be at home, but it's nice to play too. And I think our guys have done a good job of putting themselves in the opportunity to play. But obviously, you got to have someone to play to do that as well. And so we've been in a situation a couple times this year where our opponent, wasn't ready to play from a COVID standpoint. So that is this year, that you've got to kind of have a day-by-day approach. The baskets are 10 feet on the road. The court's the same size. So you just try to focus on the things that you can control. And the fact of the matter is you really don't know who your next opponent's going to be. You don't know if it's going to be at home. You don't know if it's going to be on the road. So you just try to approach it, which is what our goal is every day. We just try to be better today than we were yesterday, and then try to be better tomorrow than we were today. And if you can do that, and it's a lot harder than most believe to do that, then you give yourselves a chance to win, whether you're here at home or you're on the road or whatever it is. Because it is a different year playing back-to-back, playing the same opponent. It's different. It's uncomfortable, but it is what it is. And the reality is the opportunity to play is one that we're really, really grateful for. So we don't really we try not to focus on that. Obviously, you got to get on a bus and you got to drive. You got to do those things. But I'm hoping that we got some home games coming up. Well, I thought we played well for about 25 minutes, really well and aggressively the first night. But give Hampton some credit too. They were really aggressive, and Davion Warren showed why he's probably the player of the year in the league right now. I thought the thing that I was most proud of outside of just the basketball performance was the way we lost the first night and how disappointing that was the ability to respond. We talk about all the time, like whatever happens to you, whether it's good or bad, there's a response that still has to occur. At Longwood, we won the first game. We didn't win the second game. So we didn't do as good of a job of responding when things went our way. A lot of times responding when things go your way is tougher to do than responding when things don't go your way. So I thought Trent and Doc really led our team in terms of aggression on the second day. But those guys, they have that in them. But I thought the entire team, I thought our juice was better on the bench in terms of our energy and how loud things were, which is a key component this year when you're playing with no one in the stands. So I was most proud of the response outside of the individual performances of Trent and Doc. But I thought LJ was good. And then I thought Tay defensively was terrific. And I know as much, his offense being the second or third leading scorer in the league gets a lot of attention, but he's probably overall been the most solid defender we've had this year. Just try to go 1-0. Again, if you do that, then you're able to take a day-by-day approach. If you go into a weekend thinking, we got to win 2 or we got to split, that's not, it's just, okay, here's the first game. Let's do our best. Let's try to prepare and be as healthy and, as rested as possible. And then when we get the result from that game, let's try to do it again, knowing that the time to do that is very short, 22 hours, in most cases. And I think our guys have done a pretty good job of that. We've, fortunately for us early on, because of the Mako medical tournament we had here early in the year, we were fortunate to kind of be able to do that. Now, we played a different opponent early on, but we played back-to-back where you had a quick turnaround. I thought that helped us when we played High Point a few weeks later here at home as well. So again, I think if you focus on the things of, oh man, we got 2 games in 24 hours, or if you take the approach of, man, what an awesome opportunity we have, and take a game by game approach, then you probably lend yourself to some better results over time. At least I believe that. Space is big for us on the offensive end. It really helps, especially Trent, LJ, and LeVar do what they do best and attack, whether it be in transition or whether it be in a half court. With Cody, he does that as well as anybody, and Luke too. Luke really brings that to our team as well. Everybody affects everybody on the offensive end. Evan affects spacing because he puts pressure on the rim when he ball screens and when he rolls. Cody and Tajon and Luke affect spacing because you've got to really respect their ability to shoot. And Trent and LeVar and LJ obviously affect spacing because their ability to attack downhill. So if we can all, be on the same page with that, spacing is as important as anything we do offensively, then it tends to work out better for us. So, it's why a guy like Devon in the past, because he can shoot so well and because he can drive so well, really thrives, because you got to respect both. Yeah, that's funny because LJ, I give LJ crap all the time because every day he tries to get 3 or 4 of those up a day, and I won't say I've only seen him make like 1, but he shoots like 4 or 5 a day. So I always give him a lot of grief because I'm like, dude, you shoot them all the time, they never go in. Just quit shooting it. Go work on your free throw or something. And every time I see Tay shoot one, which like they're best friends, it goes in all the time. Tay's like the king and I see it go in all the time. So if you notice, if you really go back, as soon as he made that half court shot, and the referee blew it dead, so I'm like, Trent, just go as far as you can with it and just shoot it. Well, no, I didn't draw that up. Like, I can't take credit for that. Trent just catches it and throws it right to LJ because I guess they see him shooting half-court shots all the time. And as soon as that thing goes through the net, he spins right around and stares at me. I'm like looking away. I don't want to, at that point, I don't want to give him the gratification that he got me. But he got me. He's... if we have to draw up a half-court shot, I guess he gets it.
Well, that was great to hear a little bit from Coach Morrell. And for those of you who are listening, remember 2:00 ESPN Plus will be tipping it up against Charleston Southern again today. We want to give a little time too, also to our women's basketball team. So Donna, if you would let Coach Honey Brown, let's come here and see what she has to say about our women's team and their first game today back from a pause against Charleston Southern.
Hey, Bulldog fans. Sorry I couldn't be with you today. We're in Charleston Southern getting ready for our series. It's been the team of flexibility and adaptability. We've talked about that a lot, being willing to sacrifice, and I think that's been the biggest piece for our players. They've sacrificed a lot to be here. Everybody has, all over the country, but not being able to be your normal college student, having to wear a mask and all your workouts, do all of those things, that's a sacrifice because it's not comfortable. But I think our players are embracing being uncomfortable to be able to play and have a season, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to do that. So I'm really proud of them as far as for everything that they've done so far. But we've really tried to stay connected as much as we can as far as Zooms or just, team functions or team things from a social distancing standpoint. Just doing some fun little things to start the year, just getting our culture and getting our players used to each other. But we've just, been trying to mix in business with some fun. And that's kind of what I've approached it as with some of our Zooms. Yeah, I think it just reaffirmed us talking about the flexibility piece. I think they really bought into us talking about, hey, we can do this with 8. We're going to have some people that are going to have to do some things that they're not used to doing or play, I don't want to say out of position, but just play a different position. And you had some kids that were really willing to step up and do that. I mean, Kai Carter had to play the 5. Amira Corpening was playing the 4. Really, she was the 5 at one point. We had 5 guards out there right when Kai got in foul trouble in that first game. But just our kids' resilience and perseverance, I think I'm proud of, just because, again, they were willing to do whatever it takes and be for each other. And, of course, that's what we're big, is our culture and saying that. And there's one thing when you say it and we talk about don't talk about it, but be about it. And I think that really showed us being about it, because everybody knew that this is all we had, but we said that's all we needed as well. And we kind of labeled ourselves the grade 8 for a couple of days, and was hoping to even pull that grade 8 into the Presbyterian series, but unfortunately we had a setback and couldn't do that. Nadiri is not a surprise necessarily. She's been a proven scorer, especially last year. I think she really came into her own. Kai, I think it just took a year. I think it took a year of her getting used to college play. I think she had to have a year of getting used to what it was going to take, the type of training and things that she needed to do to get herself there. Kai was a very gifted scorer in high school. So now it was a matter of figuring out how that was going to translate to our team. And she was ready for the challenge, wanted that. She and I had conversations when I first took over the job about what her role was going to be and what we expected from her. And I think she really took that on. And again, I'm not necessarily surprised because she's put in the work. I'm just happy she's seeing the fruits of her labor early in her career. I think our chemistry, it's been hard. And Coach Morrell talked about this the other day on a different Zoom, is, we are having to work against anything that you really want as a coach. We're telling them to stay away from each other and get apart and don't high five and all of those things. And so, you wonder how your chemistry is going to be. And we've got a lot of new faces. We lost several players last year and some key players. So we've had a few players that were able to play together last year and build some chemistry. But I think that's the part I'm most proud of, is how willing they have all been to stretch themselves to not just get to know each other, but build that chemistry and be for each other and have the good energy on the court. Again, knowing that we don't have a deep roster, and they were all going to be depended on. And I think that's really shown up early in the season. We started the year off with some folks that weren't dressed out. And it's important to know that you're going to have to step up every game. And people say it all the time, next man up, or be ready. You never know when your opportunity is going to be. But I think our players knew that going into this season in July and August, that it was going to come up. And we talked about that flexibility piece since July. Yeah, I'm pleased with how we took the non-conference games. Really got better in some, learned a lot about ourselves in some adversity in others. And I think it helped us in getting into that first series in High Point. We had some road games already, which was good. We had some adversity. So we knew that we were going to have to step up because we knew they had some really good offensive players. Well, playing against the University of Florida helped us because they had some really good offensive players. So I think our players felt confident going into that series that we could do it. And then when you held right away in that game and got off to a good start, I think that just got our confidence going. I'm actually proud of what happened in the second game. They made some good adjustments and we got down early and got down by a lot. And instead of, just throwing in the towel and saying, well, we'll just take a split, our players really fought back. And so that really showed us something as well. So I think that helped carry over into the Longwood series because of having less players. That, again, we had been through some adversity already in conference, and we found a way to almost overcome that. And so we pulled that out. But Charleston Southern's just a whole other, a different animal. They've got some returning players, some good chemistry of players that scored for them last year that are playing well. I think they've got some post-play transfer and some freshmen that are doing some good things for them. Last year, of course, they beat us. They actually beat us twice, and we beat them in the tournament. So we know that they've always got a good game plan. Coach Applin does a great job down there. So we're going to have to play well, definitely in the Buck Dome, to come away with one win, hopefully 2 wins down there.
Wow, I love it. Coach Brown mentioned the Buck Dome, and we kind of joke about that. I actually played high school basketball in the gym that Charleston Southern's using as the so-called Buck Dome. But for our Bulldog fans, you're not going to have to miss the women's game. They're at 7 o'clock tonight on ESPN Plus. So you can watch men's basketball at 2. You can watch women's basketball at 7, and, really support your Bulldogs. And I want to turn now to our special guest, Johnny Davis. And Johnny, I was doing, if you'll come off mute so you and I can have a conversation. I was doing some additional homework. I obviously have gotten to know you since you moved to Asheville. But I came across a comment. It says, Johnny Davis is quietly one of the most respected members of the NBA fraternity. What a great compliment to you.
Yes, that is nice. I appreciate that. And I think a lot of that, Janet, is just trying to do what's right and be consistent and treat everyone fairly, and just give everyone that you come across that you might work with or work for honest effort each time out, and they know they can count on that.
So Johnny, obviously you have this strong philosophy about that. Let's go back. Where did you get that philosophy from? Tell us a little bit about your background growing up, and take us all the way to you becoming a Dayton Flyer and your career.
Okay. Yeah, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. I played for a couple of legendary coaches in Detroit, one by the name of Paul Dean and the other George Duncan. And they would not tolerate skipping classes, doing things outside of the realm of the game that could possibly be harmful to you. They really had a disciplined approach to practices, a disciplined approach to school being important. And I think the main thing is they made sure that you knew that you were part of the group. You were not the only part of the group. And so I learned early on how to play with others, how to what being a good teammate looks like. And I tried to carry that through. I was fortunate enough to be an All-American in high school and was heavily recruited by a lot of different universities, and elected to go to the University of Dayton, which was a very, very sound decision and really worked out for me. Now, a lot of people ask, well, how does an All-American player from Detroit, Michigan wind up in Dayton, Ohio at the University of Dayton when you could have gone to Michigan or UCLA or Notre Dame or any of these so-called high-profile schools? Well, it was quite simple for me. I got to know the coach a little bit on the recruiting visit. I watched the team play on that visit, and I could see myself with that group of guys, that team, and playing for that particular coach whose name is Don Donaher. So when I looked at how all of that fit in terms of what I was looking for, I said, hey, why not take a chance and go somewhere and try to be part of building something or rebuild it in their case, to have it turn out to be something that you could be proud of and you can look back and say, I had a part in that. It really kind of reminds me of UNC Asheville in a whole lot of ways, because when you visit the university and you see Kimmel Arena and how that's really an oasis there in terms of a facility, and then you look at the leadership of the UNC Asheville program, starting with yourself, of course, Janet Cohn as the athletic director, but even looking at what Chancellor Cable brings to the university. And then you turn around and you say, wow, there's some great people here in Asheville. I can see myself being a part of that. So I know what some of those players are thinking when they sign on to play for the university, and they are making a solid choice. I've been a follower of the program, Janet, for many, many years. I've been in Asheville for 12 years, and I used to come over to some of the games, buy a ticket, my wife and I, sit in the bleachers in the upper deck and just watch the games as a fan. And I can tell you this, some of the most enjoyable basketball I've ever seen. I've seen it right at UNC Asheville. I've watched the transition of coaches go from Coach Eddie to Coach Nick and now to Coach Morrell, Coach Mock, now Coach Honey Brown. I've seen them. I know what they're thinking. I know what they're experiencing. When I watch Coach Mike Morrell now, he's like a sixth man on the floor. He plays great defense on that sideline. All you have to do is watch him, and he's so energetic and enthusiastic. And guess what? His team plays the same way. They're a reflection of what he brings to the table. With Coach Brown, it's a different, it's a different mindset going from where she sat last year to where she's sitting now. As an assistant, you make recommendations, you make suggestions. As the head coach, you make decisions. Any decisions are yours. Now, you got to have good input in order to make credible and good decisions. And that's what she did for what, seven years with Coach Mark. She's in there right, all the way. And now she gets to put the stamp of the team and her personality into the team. And I'm looking forward to watching that process evolve. So there's a lot of good things about the university that I've come to know. And I know I digressed a bit, but I had to share that with you. It's just a wonderful community. The Bark, Bulldogs Against Racism, I'm part of that, the foundation. I believe strongly in being involved in the community to make your presence felt. It's real easy, and I tell my sons this all the time when they're watching basketball games and they're giving their opinions about different things. And I say, you know what? It's really, really easy to sit in the stands and say what someone should be doing or shouldn't be doing, or just cast your own opinion about what you see. I said, but now it's a whole different ball game in real time. It's a whole different scenario in real time, and you have to get yourself off the sidelines and into the game. Is what I like to say about it. And being a part of a community, growing in a city, getting to know the people there, becoming immersed in it is important. And I can't think of a finer community, a finer institution in UNC Asheville. People here are friendly. It's a beautiful city. And the other question people ask me, Janet, is, well, how does a city kid who grew up in an urban area wind up in the mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains? And I say, well, quite simply, the first response is, well, my wife really, really loves Asheville, and I really, really love my wife. So here we are.
Oh.
But the answer, in addition to that, is it's a beautiful place. My family and I used to come up here and visit the Biltmore Mansion. We would go around the city, go downtown, West Asheville. We've seen all of this grow. We've seen all of it just improve so much. And we decided that this is a place, again, that we could envision ourselves as being a part of. And so we came and we've stayed and we enjoy it. And I try to get involved and be available for things that will be helpful in the community. I've come to know quite a few people, especially the UNC Asheville community. You got Bill Bears in the music department, a good friend of mine. You got Darren Waters, he's a good friend. I know that Al Whitesides is part of the community as well. There's just so many, when you think about the type of people who are involved with the university and the people who have a vested interest in seeing the university do well, it's really amazing. And I just try to be a part of that, whatever small part I can play in it. I just try to make myself available. So thank you for having me on this show.
Well, Johnny, first of all, thank you again for joining us. And, we are so excited that you are in Asheville. And thank you so much for recognizing the kind of role that our university and our chancellor and our athletic department that can play in a vital community like Asheville. So thank you for those nice words you said about us. You said a couple things I want to go back to. I love the part, like you could have went to a lot of bigger major universities. You went to Dayton, similar kind of story. Sometimes with some of our players that come here to UNC Asheville, very similar. We know Dayton has become recognized as a hotbed university of basketball. They've had some great teams there. They host part of the NCAA tournament. It's a great reputation. I think that's really important. and you shared that that you were able to go to Dayton and use your talents, and you didn't need to go to a big university for the NBA to find you. Talk to our fans about that. Obviously, you had a great career at Dayton, but the NBA found you.
Yes, there's no question about it. There are no hidden secrets. I mean, if you can play, if you're a good player, the NBA will find you. They have scouts, they have regional scouts, they have national and international scouts. Wherever basketball is being played, you have an opportunity to go further if your skill set says that you're that caliber of player. I just think this is just an amazing opportunity, UNC Asheville men's and women's basketball, because you got the WNBA as well. If someone is thinking along the lines of having a university that's first class, a community that will embrace them, a fan base that's steadily growing, an amazing city, you have everything that you could possibly want right here at UNC Asheville in the city of Asheville. You need look no further. If you can play, you'll be under great leadership with the coaches that have been assembled here. I've seen and watched and known coaches from A to Z, and I can tell you that you guys selected one terrific young coach in Mike Morrell. And again, Honey Brown, there's a reason she was sitting there so long with Coach Mark, because she had something to offer, and now she's getting her opportunity to put this team and have it reflect what her personality is. So again, I'm looking forward to watching that unfold. There's just so many captivating stories, Janet. There's so many reasons to come to Asheville that can serve whatever it is you're looking for. And we haven't even mentioned yet the solidness of the academic affairs here at UNC Asheville. The quality of education that you get is second to none.
Well, I want to put this out there to our Bulldog fans that are watching. We are not paying Johnny Davis for this free, great kudos about our university. He's doing this as a favor to us, but thank you for all the great things you're saying. It's wonderful. So, and you're so modest, and you're always trying to go away from talking about yourself. And I'm gonna keep bringing you back because we want to. So you're at Dayton, you become, quite a player. The NBA finds you, and some advice you said you gave to your sons about it's easy to pretend you're a coach until you're a coach. So let's go back to your NBA career. Let's talk about you playing with a couple of those great NBA teams. How was the transition from being a college player to an NBA player? None of us, at least, maybe somebody else is watching is an NBA player. I don't know who all is watching right now, but tell us what that is like from college to the NBA.
Yes, I was fortunate enough to have a pretty solid college career. So I got drafted in the second round by the Portland Trail Blazers. Just so happened we had a pretty good center on that team by the name of Bill Walton, who had been hurt previously, who was now healthy and back. And we also had a couple of guys that came over from a league, the American Basketball Association, ABA, who was pretty good players in Maurice Lucas and Dave Tworzy. So the makings of a good team, the nucleus was there. So I get drafted second. I make the team, wound up being a part of that first year. And we wound up winning the championship in my rookie year. So now being a young player and experiencing the absolute heights of basketball, being a contributing member of what we would say was the best team in the world at that point, because the NBA was the best league in the world. We're the best team in the world, so that's what it was. I thought it would go on like this forever. Like, oh, this is just the way destiny is just this way. We're going to win a championship every year, But no, it's a very fragile situation. The second year, we started out even better than the first year. We were 50-10 after 60 games. And we thought there's no way we won't win a championship again. But again, you never know. And our key player, Bill Walton, sustained a knee injury just before the playoffs started. And we just couldn't get it done without him. He was so pivotal in everything that we did that we wound up not winning it the second year. After that second year, I was traded to the Indiana Pacers, where I began to probably mature and flourish as a player. Those were probably those next 4 years I was with the Pacers. I wound up averaging 18 points a game one year, 17 another year, and was really a big part of what that franchise was doing. Wound up after a 4-year with the Pacers, signing as a free agent with the Atlanta Hawks. Played there for a couple of years, was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers, played there a couple of years, and then was traded back to the Atlanta Hawks, which is where I finished my career. So altogether, in a professional sense, I played 10 years, won a championship in my first year, wound up playing for 4 teams, and really just after a 10-year career as a player, now I go back and I'm no longer an active player in the league. I left school early after my junior year to play professional basketball. So I took a year off from any and everything else and went back to school and finished up my degree work, because I'd always felt that that would be important, and I made promises to relatives of mine that I would finish school, even though I didn't need to at that point. But I wanted to be an example for my kids and other kids who may be looking at me in terms of how important that piece of it is. And I told my wife, when I I enrolled at Georgia State University. I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I had to get some hours to finish up. And I said, I think I'm the only guy in this class, or maybe in the school, that played professional basketball for 10 years. I have 2 kids, won a championship, and I'm sitting here with some 17 and 18-year-old classmates. You know? But it was really just a wonderful time, and I was there for a year. I finished at Georgia State University, and then from there was offered an opportunity to join the front office of the Atlanta Hawks as assistant to the president and director of community affairs. So that placed me into the front office in that administrative area for a 3-year period. One day, the current coach of the Atlanta Hawks, his name was Bobby Weiss. He came into my office, and he sat down and he said, "Hey, Johnny, I've been looking for an assistant coach, and I'm just not finding anything or anyone that I really feel good about, that I want to hire." I thought he was asking me so I could give him some advice on some recommendations I might have. I said, "Well, I can think of a couple people I think might be good for you, Bob." He said, "No, what I have in mind, Johnny, is for you to relinquish your front office position and join us on the court." Well, at that time, I was thinking, do I want to go back to the traveling part of it? Because it's extensive travel. You're away from home. I got 2 young kids. But so I go home, I talk it over with my wife, and she says, "Well, you're pretty much coaching anyway," because a lot of the players, I would do some personal workouts with them and try to help them in that way, because I wasn't that far removed from being a player. So I began to, I gave it thought, and I agreed to become his assistant. And from there, I think the next 25 years, I was involved in the NBA from the coaching standpoint as either a assistant coach and a head coach twice. I was fortunate enough to get to be the head coach for the Philadelphia 76ers in Allen Iverson's rookie year. This was before Larry Brown came. And back then, I know people, Allen calls himself the answer. You know, that's his kind of his moniker. He's the answer when he was playing. And I tell people, well, I had Allen Iverson when he still had some questions. You know, this was his first year.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So it was all told, 38 years involved, in the NBA in one capacity or another.
Wow.
And now I find myself still involved on the retirement side as the chairperson for the.
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. I want to go back though. You said something when you started your career in the NBA, and you said how fragile it is about playing, winning, somebody gets an injury. And you probably saw that not only in your playing career, but coaching career. And we heard our coaches just talk about that, being thankful that you're healthy in COVID, talk a little more about that. I think sometimes people that are watching and are not actually a coach or a player do not really understand. Sometimes it's day to day, but.
Well, it really is, Janet. When you're performing, you don't think, nor should you be thinking about injuries and things of that nature, but it is part of the game. And your whole career could change at any moment with falling wrong or something happens from a physical standpoint that doesn't allow you to compete at the same level. And then as you get further along, if you're playing professional basketball or professional sports, there's always things like younger players coming in, competing at the same position who may be a little bit better than you. You have injuries, you have just team changing and shifting positions. And so there's a lot of things that could, alter the way your career is going. You don't have a lot of control over that, so you can't, spend time worrying about it. But what you can do is start preparing yourself for the inevitable, because I've yet to see a 50, 55-year-old basketball player. It's just, you just physically cannot do it. Your physical gifts will deteriorate, and at a certain point, you become a former player. That doesn't mean you can't stay involved. You just have to prepare yourself. So when I'm asked the question, well, when should you start preparing? You start preparing for your exit the very first day that you start playing. That someday this will end. And you are not totally defined by your athletic career. It's the other things that define who you are. And so many times, or too many times, I should say, I see athletes who once the cheering stops and once the accolades are no longer there, there's this insecurity that they have that, well, who am I now? Who am I without these other things that used to validate me or that I allowed to validate me? And so if you're prepared to make that transition, you alleviate the pressure that's placed on you, because now it places you squarely in control of your own destiny, post sports, post basketball, post football, post whatever it is. And if you're really, really immersed in the sport, you can come back as a teacher of it and find that very satisfying as well.
Wow. Great feedback. I'm learning so much. I just love this interview with you. Tell us, you mentioned this though, and we led with this a little bit. You recently, it's been a little while, got appointed as to the National Basketball Retired Players Association, and you're the chair. What does that mean to you? And tell our friends, what is that whole group about? I mean, what do y'all really focus on and former players?
Yeah, one of the things that we try to do is to be that central place that a player who may be in transition can come and find answers to their his or her problems, or his or her concerns. Um, where when you're a player, a lot of things are done for you. You're accustomed to look, be on the bus at 9. We're gonna play at 7. We're gonna eat at 11:30 a.m. uh, we're gonna have a shoot around, and so your life is very, very disciplined and very detail oriented, and you just follow that script. Well, when you're no longer a participant, you have to do a lot of these things on your own. No, nobody's waking you up. You don't have a student manager that's making sure you go to class. These types of things, and so it becomes necessary to where can I go to find out about my health needs? Where do I go to find out about dental care, vision care? How can I go back and finish school? What steps are involved in that? Where can I go to have social interaction for those who miss the camaraderie of the locker room? So we try to provide that particular element for all former professional players, NBA, ABA, WNBA, and Harlem Globetrotters. So it's a central place for that to help players find employment if they need it. There's a feeling out there that when people see former professional players that they all made this incredible amount of money and they're living just so high in the sky that nothing ever touches them, and that's true for a certain slow or a low percentage of athletes, but the majority of those athletes don't make millions and millions of dollars per year. Some of them last a year, some of them two. Then they wash out of the league, and now they're looking around. They didn't finish school. They don't have employment. They don't know where to turn, and that's where we come in. We give them that place to turn to hopefully get them back on their feet and address the concerns that they may have.
So Johnny, how closely do y'all work with the league right now, the active players? I mean, is there a good relationship there where you're trying to help kind of people foresee what's coming?
Yes, it's a great relationship with the both the NBA and the NBPA, which is the Players Association. They provided the Players Association and NBA provided health screening for veteran players to keep and monitor their health as they age. There's a great relationship with LeBron James and Chris Paul, two of the president and vice president of the NBA Players Association. Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, is very open-minded and very thoughtful as it relates to former players and current players. So it's like a fraternity, if you will, that all of those current players understand that one day they'll be on the other side of it and be former players. But the one common denominator is that all of them, current and former, share that one thing of being a player. They understand what that is. And so it works out. So it's a great relationship with the NBA and the Players Association and the Retired Players Association.
That's good. I've got one more question, and then we're going to open it up. I know David's getting questions behind the scenes here, and we want to use our time wisely. I mean, obviously, this has been an unusual year with COVID and some of the things that have happened with racial injustice. How have you seen basketball, whether it's high school basketball, college, NBA, WNBA? How do you see basketball being truly a group of individuals that could make a difference in this area?
I think one of the most profound ways, Janet, is that in this era of divisiveness and social concerns, the one thing about sports is you really don't care about the racial identity of your teammate. You really just want to know, can you help us win the game tonight? And so sports is that area to me where when you look to the right and look to the left, you're not judging your teammates on color. You're judging them on how good of a teammate they are and how talented they are and how together you are as a team. And so it transcends that to me, sports does. The only other place I've seen it is music. Either you can play with the band or you can't. If you can't play, they don't care what color you are. You gotta exit stage right. But if you're a good performer and you can help the band create this amazing music, they really don't care about the color aspect of it. So I think sports can be a magnet, or sports can be something that attracts those who might be on the fence about something. When your team is winning and you're out there cheering and having a good time and a great experience, you're not concerned about all the other stuff that seems to be prevalent today. You're just enjoying that experience as being a fan of the team you're supporting, and just into that moment versus all these other things, politics, et cetera, that seem to play in other things today.
Well, that's a good reminder to all of us. One of the values of sports, one of the values of sports. So, David Jandrew, I know you got some questions back there. So, if you'll come on and ask a few questions to our guests, and others that are watching, if you want to type in some additional questions, we got a few minutes, and I think we're going to have to invite Johnny back anyway, because this could go on for a lot longer. Okay, go ahead, David.
I'm enjoying it.
So, Johnny, you mentioned Bill Walton being arguably the best player you played with. Who was the toughest player you played against?
The toughest player that I played against is really hard to pinpoint one guy, David. And the reason is, at the professional level, you're really getting the best of the best every night. Now, different players give you different challenges. But one night you might be playing, let's say in today's game, you might be playing LeBron James. And the next night you're playing against Kevin Durant. The next night you're playing Stephen Curry. And the next night, it just goes on and on and on. So as we were talking about earlier, you can't take anyone for granted, and everyone can play. So in terms of best players, whoever it is that night that's across from me, that was the best player. And I tried to approach it that way. And that way you don't go to sleep on any opponent, and you're prepared mentally to compete.
Who do you enjoy watching in today's game the most, and why?
I enjoy, from an individual standpoint, I think Stephen Curry, because of how he plays. And I like watching players who seem to enjoy playing. They have this aura, this spirit about them, and like they're having fun while they're playing. So he's one of those guys, and he does some incredible things on the court. His range is unlimited. He plays well with his teammates, and he's getting it done without dominating the ball, so to speak. He's not chewing up the shot clock and then shooting. And their style of play, I've enjoyed Golden State over the recent years, because they play team basketball, and I love watching teams that play team basketball, which is one of the reasons I love watching UNC Asheville, because they play as a team, both men and women. So those those fans who have not had a chance to watch the women's team play should come out and watch, because they've been successful, as you know, the past few years, and they're winning the conference every year. Not to put any pressure on Coach Brown. I mean, she's part of those wins, but they're just a fun group to watch. And I like the pureness of college basketball, where you're not playing for a contract. You're playing for your school. You're playing for the university community. And so that makes it fun for me. It's, yeah.
As a coach during those days, who did you learn the most from, enjoy coaching with, coaching against, when you had to put the coaching hat on?
The coach who probably was the most innovative at the time was probably Don Nelson, who has since retired. I think Pat Riley was always a guy that, you knew his teams were going to play hard. Rick Carlisle, who's with Dallas today. Doc Rivers, who's now with Philadelphia. Dwayne Casey, who's with Detroit now, the Pistons. So there's a lot of good coaches out there. Larry Brown was an excellent coach. I was with John Calipari for a couple of years in New Jersey when he was with the Nets. Now he's at Kentucky. And he was a good one. Speaking of him, people always say, and I hear this said about him a lot, that he's just an excellent recruiter. I've been in the huddle with John Calipari, and he is one of the best strategists I've been around. He knows his stuff. I mean, and again, he was a guy that not only could he recruit, as you can see, but he's a better coach in that huddle than people would than they give him credit for being. I can tell you firsthand, I've been in the huddle with a lot of coaches. He's as good as any I've been in there with. So yeah, there's a lot of good coaches around. Probably, I would say that there's a new wave of coaches coming through, David. Eric Spoelstra, who's with Miami, he's an outstanding coach. I think Nick Nurse in Toronto, who was coach of the year last year, outstanding coach. So there's a lot of new coaches coming in. Things evolve, and the new group comes in, and new things come about. When I was playing in my prime, the three-point shot wasn't even there first. And then when it came in, which was the later stages, it wasn't that prevalent. People just didn't, they thought, why are you shooting so far away from the basket? Well, analytics now tell us that's probably what you should be doing. The more threes you get up, it just makes it tough for a team that's just taking two. So now the coaches have that three-point shot as part of their arsenal, and you have to have it these days. And I think there's some balance that should be struck there, but you got to change and evolve with the way the game is being played today.
David's
question. We have just one last one. You mentioned your work with the retired players. I'm going to go to the other end of the spectrum. What are your thoughts on whether or not high school players should be allowed to go directly to the NBA?
Well, I look at that from two perspectives. If a young man or young woman is gifted enough to go to the professional ranks, they should be allowed to do that if they're good enough. Now, that puts the onus on the scouts and the teams to make a determination. Is this young man or young woman good enough? Are they mature enough to handle the rigors of professional ball? When you look at the way the system is now, there's a few players who are truly good enough. But having said that, I understand the need for the maturity piece where a kid can go to college. He's different, he or she is different after their junior year than they were their freshman year. And so it becomes a question of, are you really ready to make that next step or not? And if you're not, the shelf life of a professional athlete is really, really small. I think the average is 3 years. After that, most of the athletes have to, they bounce around and try to hang on for as long as they can. But the so-called blue chippers, they'll play 10, 12 years. Well, David, 10 or 12 years is not a long time. I mean, if you think about an attorney or a person in the medical, a doctor, somebody like that, 10 or 12 years, they just getting started. they got another 30 years to do this. Athletes don't. And so if they can maximize themselves early, then I think it should be. But if they're not really one of those elite athletes with an opportunity to do it, and it can't be, you think this way in your own mind, but it's really not so. It's got to be validated by the scouts and the people watching the game, and there can be no question about it. Otherwise, you need to go to school and start planning an exit strategy in the event that you are not selected to perform as a professional.
Well, I'm telling you what, we could go on and on. So for our Bulldog fans that have joined us today, when this COVID's over with, we're going to do either a fireside chat or a cookout or something and invite Johnny to be our guest so that we can learn even more, because I've been around basketball for my entire career, but I never get tired. And some of the folks are texting me. They love the inside about Calipari because they watch him a lot. So thank you, Johnny, so much for joining us. And we're going to do this again.
Well, thank you.
There's so much more we can learn from you. And I'm going to get Donna to make a note. We need to get Johnny to do something with our student athletes. I think your wisdom and your experiences would be very valuable to some of them to hear this. And so keep that in mind. So I'm lining you up for future opportunities to help Bulldogs. I also want to say to our Bulldog fans, don't forget 2:00 men's basketball, women's basketball at 7. Our next Mako medical webinar, we're going to do something a little different, because remember, all 16 sports are going to be competing as of, I guess, end of January, 1st of February. So we're going to bring in some of our head and assistant coaches and some student athletes from volleyball, soccer, golf, tennis, baseball, track, and let you have a chance to hear from them. And then we'll pick back up with basketball as we're getting ready, maybe at that time for a Big South championship and maybe a trip to Indianapolis, because everybody's going to Indianapolis. All the teams will this year for the men's basketball championships, and the women are going to go to San Antonio. So tune in, stay with us, Bulldog fans. We miss you so much in person, but we really appreciate you joining us. And Johnny, thank you again so much for coming to Asheville and becoming a Bulldog. We love you and appreciate you. Okay, signing off.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.